The gospel reading is Luke chapter 19, beginning with the first verse. He entered Jericho and was passing through, and there was a man named Zacchaeus. He was a chief tax collector and very rich, and he sought to see who Jesus was, but could not on account of the crowd and because he was small of stature. So he ran on ahead and climbed up into a sycamore tree to see him, for he was to pass that way. And when Jesus came to the place, he looked up and said to him, "Zacchaeus, make haste and come down, for I must stay at your house today." So he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they all murmured, "He has gone in to be the guest of a man who is a sinner." And Zacchaeus stood and said to the Lord, "Behold, Lord, the half of my goods I give to the poor, and if I have defrauded anyone or anything, I restore it fourfold." And Jesus said to him, "Today salvation has come to this house, since he also is a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and to save the lost." This is the word of God for the people of God.
Thanks be to God. Thank you for that, Michael. Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. I thought about if I were in charge of casting for the movie Zacchaeus. For years I thought I'd get Danny DeVito. Be perfect. But now I've got a better candidate to play the part of Zacchaeus, Peter Dinklage, right? His character, Tyrion Lannister in Game of Thrones, be absolutely perfect. Like, little guy, but I mean, he's tough, he's strong, you don't mess with him, right? I love that. Zacchaeus is a climber. I mean, literally, he climbs the tree. But he's also a climber. I mean, socially, he's made a lot of money. He's exceeded all of his peers. He's absolutely amazing. Zacchaeus, it occurred to me this week, excuse me, Zacchaeus is not only small, he is also late. If you're short and you want to see somebody in a crowd, you come early, and then you're in front of everybody else so you can see. But he gets there after the crowd has already come. He is late. Why is he late? We have no idea why he is late. Perhaps he'd already made his mark in the world, and he thought, I don't really need to hear from this teacher, this healer who's coming. They're a dime a dozen. I don't really need that. Maybe he heard all the ruckus and people were getting all excited about it. And he thought, man, maybe I better go check this out, even though he's a little late. I'll climb up in the tree so I can see him. Maybe there's something in Zacchaeus, some hollowness, some emptiness despite all of his success. And he thinks, maybe. His name Zacchaeus is amazing. What a name to give a child. Pressure, right? The name Zacchaeus means the righteous one. Why did his parents name him Zacchaeus? They can't have named him Zacchaeus with the dream that he would become a successful tax collector, because those are like the unrighteous guys, right? So why did they name him Zacchaeus? Was their dream that their son would be righteous? Did they have sorrow, disappointment in his success because he's not righteous? Or did he actually make a lot of money and his wealth actually benefited them, his parents? Zacchaeus, the righteous one. My question today, when I think about short Zacchaeus, Peter Dinklage, whoever, is, do you ever feel small? Now, if I talk to you about righteousness, I bet a bunch of you would raise your hand and say, I feel pretty small when it comes to righteousness. That's like not my strong suit. Not my strong suit. But I wonder, apart from righteousness, just out there in the world, do you ever feel small? You might look big out in the world, you might be doing well, but do you ever feel small out there? I read The Irish poet and theologian Pádraig Tuama, he wrote a poem about Zacchaeus, and I love the word that he came with. He says, Zacchaeus is a story of overcompensation. Overcompensation. You ever overcompensate? When I was a little kid, I was, probably because I had a late birthday, I don't know, I was the shortest kid, I was the skinniest kid. Oh, yeah, I hated that. And by middle school, I wasn't the shortest kid, but I was the shortest boy. And I hated being the shortest, skinniest boy because I wanted to play basketball, I wanted to play football, I wanted to be cool, but there I am short. But what I discovered, this is amazing, is that I was really good at long division. I was really good at trigonometry. I was really good at chemistry. And I thought, instead of trying to be a ball player, I'll be a chemistry student. I'll be a math wizard. I'll be smarter than those other kids who were taller. I really wanted to be taller, but I was overcompensating, if you see, driven to be this other thing. Do you ever overcompensate for anything out there in the world? You know, you're driven, maybe you're doing really well at it, but maybe it's overcompensating for something that's missing in there. Zacchaeus sought redemption by overcompensating with his climbing the ladder. Sometimes when you feel small and you're trying to overcompensate for being small, you treat others as small. When I was in college, 1977, Randy Newman, who became more famous later for his Toy Story song, came out with a song called Short People. And in the song, he says, I don't want no short people around here. Short people, they got little hands and little eyes. And the whole song is making fun of short people. The point of the song is not making fun of short people. The point of the song is how we make judgments about outward appearances when we should not do so, because the song eventually morphs around from saying, I don't want no short people around here, to saying, short people are just the same as you and me. All men are brothers till the day they die. Short people need somebody to love. Do we treat others as small? Do we feel small? The good news for those of us who feel small, and for those who are treated as small, is that when God said, I want them to know me, I want to come down and be among them, God did not come down as a tall, strapping, muscular intimidator, like, I'll crush my foes, I will frighten them into doing what I wish. No, God came down really small, like as small as just a child in a manger in his mother's womb, and then just an infant. I mean, small. God didn't want anybody to be afraid. God wanted people to be tender. God wanted people to be compassionate. God became small. I don't know if Jesus was tall or short. I don't picture him being real tall, though. He became small for those of us who feel small. And it's so interesting. Zacchaeus, nobody thought he was righteous. The citizens of Jericho, they've got him sized up well. They said, this man is a sinner. They loathe him. They despise him. They look at his wealth and they say, that's actually my money. He overtaxed me for what was my money that I earned, and then he's living in opulence and wealth. That man is a sinner. Jesus looks at Zacchaeus and does not see a sinner. Jesus does not see a tax collector. Jesus sees what his name was. Jesus sees a guy righteous. He sees righteousness in him that Zacchaeus, I'm sure, cannot even see in himself. Maybe it was his parents' dream, but nobody sees it in him now. But Jesus sees in him a righteous one. Jesus sees in him the righteous person that he can become. Jesus saw Zacchaeus, knows who he really is. And Jesus looks at you and doesn't see small. Jesus doesn't see vulnerable. Jesus doesn't see your driven overcompensation. Jesus sees there's a righteous person in you. And you're thinking, don't look at me, James. There's a righteous person in you, and Jesus sees it. Jesus is calling that forth. He calls him, Zacchaeus, righteous one. Zacchaeus, righteous one, come down. I love it. I hope next year we'll be able to go back to the Holy Land. And if we go to Jericho, It's always great. The modern city of Jericho is on the same land that Jesus would have walked. There's actually a sycamore tree there. You can get a selfie with it. That's kind of fun. And in those days, though, they lived on that level, but looming above the city from the time of Jesus was ancient Jericho that we read about in the book of Joshua. This was the first great miracle when the Israelites came into the land. You know this? They come in and they're scared that we're like grasshoppers before these giants in the land. They think they'll never survive there. They feel so small. But then they come into the land and they march around Jericho, and God gives it into their hands, and the remains of Jericho still loom on a high hill over that city. What did the people in Jesus' day think about that? Did they just walk around and take it for granted? Or did they look up sometimes and think, wow, God did that? What might God do now? Did Zacchaeus think of that? Jesus is calling me righteous. If God could deliver Jericho, could the same visit to Jericho, by the way, Mark tells us a different story. It's not the one about Zacchaeus. Mark tells us the story about a guy who's been blind from birth named Bartimaeus. And he cries out to Jesus to have mercy on him, and Jesus heals him, and he can see. It's absolutely nothing that God cannot do. Salvation came to Zacchaeus' house. I started thinking this week not about Zacchaeus as an individual guy, you as individual people, but I started thinking this week about the church as Zacchaeus. The church as Zacchaeus. We could start with, of course, there's a crowd hustling to see Jesus. We're 2 weeks out now from Easter. Good Lord, have mercy. If you've not done this before, wear knee pads to come on Easter. It's just like people are rushing in and they're saving seats. The people think shouldn't save seats are loathing the people that are saving seats. It's just, we're here to see Jesus. It's a lovely moment. Crowd trying to see Jesus. Zacchaeus has to climb up in the tree. What I thought about this week is not that, but Zacchaeus is small. And we live in a day where the church is small. Go back and you see drawings, paintings of cities in colonial America. The churches are the tallest buildings. Back in the day, the New York Times, on the front page of the Monday paper, they would have sermons from the local clergy, right? I mean, the church used to be big. And we live in a day now that the church has shrunk in importance. The church has shrunk in size. Most people out there just kind of, yawn, like church, yeah. Churches aren't the tallest buildings any longer. Many more churches are closing. Many churches are abandoned. They open restaurants and they open law offices. And we live in a day of the smallness of the church. And I don't want to say, we need to live into that. Like Peter Dinklage, he must have decided, I'm going to live into being short. Zacchaeus eventually lived into being short. The church is small, and we can live into that because we know that our witness isn't small. Perhaps our witness has some power even in its smallness. We as the church try to do so much. We're a pretty big church relatively, but in the scope of things, I mean, you think about the troubles of the world. Like, how small is the church? How impotent is the church? I mean, people call me all the time. They're troubled about whatever's going on in society. The church needs to do something. We're doing all we can, but we're just so small. Even our affordable housing initiative, part of our campaign, we raised $5 million for affordable housing. And people say, wow, that's amazing. That is just one little dent in the affordable housing equation in Charlotte. But I would suggest to you it's a very important little dent because it's God's little dent. It is a witness to the world that, yeah, we're small, but there is still a God. There is still righteousness in some people. There's still hope for the world. The small thing, I've been thinking about this also. I'm preparing for this class on Bonhoeffer, writing a book on him and so on. And Bonhoeffer is amazing. What puzzles me. So in 1933, Hitler came to power. And it's just embarrassing. Most church leaders, and there are photos of it, Lutheran pastors, Catholic priests, they're standing behind Adolf Hitler. Heil Hitler. They thought it was just the greatest thing that could possibly have happened to Germany. They were so excited about Hitler. And anyone who questioned it, they couldn't imagine such a thing. 2 days after Hitler seized power, Bonhoeffer made a national radio address, and he talked for a while, and they shut him off. And they shut him off when he said, as Christians, we have one leader. We have one leader, and the German word for leader, of course, is Führer. We have one leader. They shut him off. Why did they shut him up? See, this always puzzles me. If the pastor, a theologian, if somebody says, I know pastors, they get so dinged by their people because they're trying to speak God's word into a confused world, and they always have church people who are saying, hush, hush, hush. I've been hushed quite a few times. I get it. Hush, James, hush. I don't know, why don't we just yawn and say, well, it's just the pastor. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Why is there this reaction that like Dietrich Bonhoeffer had to be hushed? Everybody else was with the program. And I wonder if even though he was one small little guy, that the powers that be had some sneaking suspicion that small as he was, just one as he was in such a world of such excitement about the Nazi kingdom that was dawning, maybe they had a sneaking suspicion that maybe he actually has heard from God. Like that's what the world needs. Like somebody's heard from God when everybody else is deaf to it. The church is small, but we have this witness. Salvation comes to our house. I don't know, there's a financial component to this story. I know you hoped I'd come talk about money today. It's interesting, Jesus comes to Zacchaeus' house, and the guy's earned a lot of money. And the thing you have to remember is that he'd done nothing illegal. Right? Within the legalities of his day, he had made a lot of money. And that's actually how a lot of us make a lot of money. I hope none of you are breaking the law or bending ethics to make money. I hope you're doing it legally, and you probably are doing it legally. It's so interesting. Jesus comes to Zacchaeus' house and says, salvation has come to your house. And because salvation has come to Zacchaeus' house, he looks at the wealth that he has gained legally. It's entirely legal. He's not done anything wrong. He's not broken any rule. But he looks at all that he has, and because Jesus has come to his house, he has to look now to his neighbors, and he has to think, why do I have so much and they have so little? And he begins this process of sharing what he has. He doesn't have to. He could have just said, Jesus has come to my house. I'm going to keep enjoying this sumptuous lifestyle that I have, but no. Jesus had come to his house, and nothing could be the same. Perhaps for him, small guy, overcompensating, doing so well in the world, it especially had to involve his money. He looked at what he had. It was no longer just his. It was God's. It was theirs. It was ours. Padraig Tuama wrote this. Jesus calls Zacchaeus down to generosity, and it began with a night of hospitality. In his poem, he suggests that Zacchaeus was a lonely person, and he was. He says, but his loneliness, because Jesus came, gave birth to a lovely son called New Confidence. And that confidence has a lovely brother whose name is generosity. Friends, I don't know what's in your heart today. When I say, do you ever feel small? You say, I've never felt small in my life. I've always felt large. I've always felt more than up to the task. There's plenty of me. I've never felt not enough. I don't know what it is you're talking about with overcompensation and righteousness. I'm plenty right. Maybe you've got that going on, and great. But you have the sense that there's this smallness in me. And if you don't have the sense of smallness in you, you just try getting older and you begin to face aging and death and your body breaking down. You feel so small before it all. And then we're all so small before the world. We're not small in God's eyes. In God's eyes, we're righteous. In God's eyes, there's a new confidence that can be birthed in us. And it's not cockiness to do well in the world. It's confidence that I am God's. I am God's. I belong to God. God sees righteousness in me. I don't see it in myself. But if God sees it, it must be there. So I want to be part of this campaign, small as it may be, to put a dent in things in the world, to make a difference, and to do it in the name of God, so that people out there who yawn or laugh at us will say, maybe there's something there. Thanks be to God.